She only wanted to fit into a dress, to feel beautiful at one wedding. But what she tied around her waist began to untie her entire life. Ronk was bold, loud, and loved by her customers, but mocked by society for her size. One whispered tip, one brown package, and one night of strange dreams. That's how it all began. Across Lagos, three women thought they had found a miracle, a magical slimming wrapper that melted fat overnight. But none of them knew the price they would pay: their health, their peace, their identity. This is not just a story about losing weight, it's a story about losing yourself and the painful journey of finding your way back. If you've ever felt pressured to be someone else, this story is for you. This is the wrapper of glory. If gossip were a sport, the women of Alagbaka market wouldn't just win Olympic gold. They would win it barefoot, chewing roasted corn, and still have time to sell tomatoes before the national anthem finished playing. On Tuesdays, the market wasn't just a place for buying food. It became the courtroom of judgment, with the stalls as witness stands and every wrapper-wearing woman ready to testify. By 9 a.m., the open space between the pepper stalls and the plantain sellers became an unannounced gathering point. If you wanted the latest gist in Akure, you didn't need radio. Just hover near the women slicing okra, and you'd hear the full episode of somebody else's life, uncensored. "Chai, did you see Mama Ronki this morning?" asked Iabola, adjusting her glasses as she arranged smoked fish in a wide basin. "She passed here just now," replied Iarisi, fanning herself with the edge of her wrapper. "Her hips be like two trailers side by side, and she now dey waka like say na fashion parade." "Even rapper dey fear that waist," another woman added, causing the group to erupt in loud backslapping laughter. "Make we no lie, Ian," said Mama Ireti, shaking her head. "That woman get confidence, Shah. Me, I for Don hide." They all laughed again, some shaking their heads, others slicing vegetables like they were cutting the pride out of Ronki's story. But what they didn't know was that Mama Ronki was right behind them. She had paused just by the corner of the yam stall, tying her headscarf tighter. She'd heard everything, every word, every cackle. Her ears might have been pierced for earrings, but they had also become fine-tuned instruments of survival in a world that measured women by their waistlines. She sighed deeply and continued walking, her steps heavy, but her head still held high. At 38, Ronki Ayola was many things: a proud Yoruba woman, a skilled tailor, a businesswoman, and most importantly, a woman who had learned how to laugh at herself before others tried to do it for her. Her hips had been the subject of conversation since she was 18. She was round in the right places, soft in the others, and unapologetically full-bodied. People called her Mama Ronki, not just because of her age, but because she carried the kind of presence that commanded attention. When she entered a room, heads turned. Whether in admiration or judgment didn't matter anymore. She was used to it, but even the thickest skin has soft spots. Ronki was famous in the community, not for her size, but for her skill. She made the kind of lace gowns that made slim women feel like queens and plus-size women feel like goddesses. Her stitches were so neat, many joke that even angels could wear her agbadas to Sunday service. If you had a party, Ronki was your go-to tailor. Her designs hugged bodies like a second skin, flattered every curve, and made customers come back with referrals and praise. But behind closed doors, Ronk sometimes struggled to stitch together the broken pieces of her self-worth. Every mocking word thrown at her in the market was a silent pin in her heart. She'd smile, nod, even joke back. But when she got home and shut her door, silence became her mirror. Then came the wedding of the year, Sister Jemima's wedding. Everyone who was somebody in town was invited. The venue was the grand banquet hall near Alakbaka roundabout, decorated with gold drapes, giant chandeliers, and flowers imported from Lagos. The hall looked like something out of a music video. Ronki had sewn her own dress, of course, a purple lace gown that shimmered under the lights, hugging her in all the right places. She spent extra on her gale, wrapping it like a queen's crown. Her makeup was perfect, with a deep red lipstick that matched her confident smile. She had barely entered the reception hall when it happened. A man, probably one of the groom's cousins, leaned toward his friend and muttered just loud enough, who invited the double-sized bridesmaid?" The words struck Ronki like hot oil on fresh skin. She paused, just a step past the red carpet, then continued walking like she didn't hear. But her fingers clenched tighter around her purse. Her back straightened even more. She found her seat, smiled through the pain, and danced when the MC called her to the floor. She laughed, sprayed money, and even caught the bouquet during the toss. But later that night, while removing her gel in front of the mirror, the pain came out in quiet sobs. She peeled off her makeup with trembling hands, removed her fitted lace gown, and dropped into her chair like a deflated balloon. She opened her freezer, found a tub of vanilla ice cream, and sat cross-legged on her bed watching YouTube fitness videos. The irony was bitter. There on the screen was a fit woman named Coach Z doing 50 sit-ups in 1 minute. Ronki, holding a spoon in one hand and the wrapper of her lace gown in the other, whispered to herself, "I must slim down before Christmas, even if it means eating like mosquito." She began the next day. She bought oats that looked like wood shavings and tasted worse. She boiled green tea that smelled like expired leaves and burned her tongue. She started walking up and down her street in the mornings, wearing old sneakers and a determined frown. By the end of week 1, her neighbor asked her if she was rehearsing for MWC camp. By week 2, her joints were begging for mercy. By week 3, she hadn't lost a single kilogram, but she had lost joy, patience, sleep, and her favorite earrings. Still, she pressed on, until one sunny Wednesday morning, as she was sewing an Aso-ebi gown for a client, someone entered her shop, someone who hadn't been seen in years. And with her came the beginning of everything that would soon change. Ronk's tailoring shop sat just by the corner of Ayatora Street, under a rusting zinc roof, painted in faint lilac that had long faded under the harsh Akure sun. Her apprentice, Marilli, sat cross-legged on a wooden bench, plucking thread from a misaligned sleeve with the dedication of a surgeon. The hum of the manual sewing machine filled the air, like background music. Business had been steady. Wedding season always brought plenty of customers. But Ronki's mind wasn't on the orders. She was tired. Tired of fighting her reflection. Tired of waking up with aching joints from early morning jogging. Tired of oats that tasted like regret. She had just finished stitching a red George wrapper when the curtain separating her shop from the street lifted. "Ronki, baby!" The voice was warm, dramatic, and familiar, like a Nollywood actress reappearing after 10 years off screen. Ronki looked up. Her eyes widened. Standing at the entrance in a yellow jumpsuit that clung to her curves like pepper soup to fufu was B, real name Beatrice Arinsa, known in secondary school as Fat B. Only now there was nothing fat about her. She had morphed from a chubby, puff, loving classmate into a vision of social media perfection. Her waist was so tiny it could have hidden behind a yardstick. Her arms were toned, her cheeks smooth, and her skin glowed like she'd swallowed a ring light. "B!" Ronki gasped, leaping from her chair. "Is this you or your younger sister?" B laughed and twirled like she was on a runway. "My sister K? Namio, original B, 100% premium." They hugged tightly. "I can't believe this body," Ronki said, stepping back to admire her friend. "Are you sure you didn't go to Lecky for body sculpting?" B waved a manicured hand. "I never reached that level. This one a pure tradition." "Tradition?" Ronki's eyebrow raised. "B, I big talk true. You dey sell hair now. Abi, you add body deal to it?" B smiled and looked around the shop as if to make sure no one was listening. Even Mareli perked up her ears and paused her plucking. Ronki, sit down, B said in a low voice. Let me tell you what changed my life. She leaned in. Ronke leaned in too. Then, like someone revealing a national budget leak, B whispered, It's called the Wrapper of Glory. Ronke blinked. Come again. B tapped her nails against the table. Wrapper of Glory. It's not ordinary wrapper O. It's specially prepared by one Baba in Akure, Baba Banjoko. Ronke sat up straighter. Wait, wrapper as in cloth? Yes, but not just cloth. It's made with herbs, real ancient roots and barks. His grandmother was a herbalist to queens in the old Oyo Empire. This wrapper works overnight. You tie it around your waist when you're going to sleep. You'll wake up with inches gone. Ronke narrowed her eyes suspiciously. B, you sure say no be charm? B laughed, a soft, confident laugh. God forbid. No be juju. Just herbs and ancestral knowledge. Baba Banjoko calls it body rebalancing. It's natural. No side effects as long as you follow the rules. Ronk rested her chin on her palm. Which rules? B began to count on her fingers like a teacher in nursery class. 1. Tie the wrapper tightly around your waist every night before bed. 2. Sleep facing the east. 3. No food after 7 p.m. Not even puff-puff. 4. Don't untie the wrapper until sunrise, no matter what. Ronk raised an eyebrow. Why east? B shrugged. I don't know. Maybe because that's where the sun rises. All I know is, it works. She pulled out her phone and showed Ronk her before and after pictures. The transformation was shocking. In one, B looked like her old self. Round cheeks, thick arms, and a double chin that smiled before her mouth did. In the next photo, she was glowing, slim, with collarbones peeking like hidden treasures. Ronke's heart skipped. B, how many days before you started seeing results? Me? First night. I woke up and my wrapper had shifted. It was tighter. My belly looked flatter. After 1 week, I dropped a whole dress size. Ronke's mind began to race. She thought of all the market women, the wedding insult, the mirror. She had tried gym, tried dieting, tried green tea that smelled like boiled broomstick. What did she have to lose? B, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Give me the address. B grinned and wrote it on the back of a fabric receipt. Baba Banjoko's shrine behind St. David's Anglican Church. Akure, ask for the bamboo hut beside the kola nut tree. Password, I seek glory. 2 days later, Ronke boarded a rickety Akure-bound bus at Oyota Motor Park with a small backpack and a prayer in her chest. The journey was long and bumpy. She sat beside a woman selling dry fish who snored with her mouth open, her head bobbing like a dashboard figurine. When she finally arrived at Baba Banjoko's shrine, it looked like something out of a traditional movie. A small bamboo hut stood in the corner of a clearing, surrounded by kola nut trees and faint trails of smoke from a burning incense pot. Birds flew overhead, and wind chimes made of cowrie shells clinked softly. An old man with a long gray beard and a wrapper tied around his waist stepped out. Who are you seeking? He asked. I seek glory, Ronk replied, clutching her handbag. He nodded slowly, then prepared to be unwrapped. He handed her a carefully folded wrapper inside a brown calico bag. It smelled of burnt ginger, camphor, and something else. Something she couldn't name, earthy and haunting. Alongside it came a set of handwritten instructions. She paid in full, 12,000 naira. No change. That night back in Lagos, she stood in front of her mirror. She remembered B's words. No fear, just tie it tight and sleep. Glory doesn't come to those who hesitate. She tied the wrapper of glory around her waist. It felt strange, heavy, alive, like a second skin. She lay on her mat, facing east. No food since 6:45 p.m. She closed her eyes and whispered a prayer. But sleep did not come easily. The night was hot and the wrapper clung tighter with each hour. She tossed. She turned. Then somewhere between midnight and dawn, she dreamt. A shadow stood at the edge of her bed, a woman with no eyes, her body cloaked in darkness, her voice low and echoing. Some weights are sacred. Ronke gasped awake, heart pounding. She sat up, drenched in sweat. She reached for the wrapper. It had tightened. Her belly ached. Her back pulsed. She stumbled to her mirror. Her eyes widened. Her waist was smaller. Her tummy flatter. Her reflection different. A slow smile spread across her face. It's working. But in the mirror's corner, something moved.